Good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of The Gavel, featuring attorney Ana Toledo. Ms. Toledo is the senior attorney and general counsel to Targeted Justice. She has a background in constitutional and environmental law and is an experienced litigator, including 2 cases at the U.S. Supreme Court. And here's Ms. Toledo.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Let me just remove this from the stage. Welcome to episode 47 of The Gavel, a podcast dedicated to bringing you from Washington, D.C., the latest news relevant to our quest for freedom from government weaponization, as well as the important updates about my mission for freedom here in D.C. Today is Friday, April 10th, and this constitutes a historic record of the fight to end government weaponization happening in the freest country in the world, the freest, right? From where it is delivered to more than 6 million victims around the world. We don't forget about you, all of you that are outside of the United States. I'm your host, Ana Toledo, an attorney with more than 30 years of experience. I am born and raised in Puerto Rico and had to flee Puerto Rico to come try to shut down this horrific program. Like many of you, I am a victim of this program because I refuse to give in my integrity and my dignity. It has turned me also into a victim of government weaponization and particularly lawfare. My goal is to expose this illegal program. And many people don't understand why exposure, because this program, the only way it can function, it can work, is covertly. Because it is so illegal. It entails torture. It entails the violation of the most intimate and privacy, Fourth Amendment, Fifth, Sixth Amendment rights. That is why it has to continue to be covert. Okay, I have to apologize. Hi, everybody. I have to apologize to the Facebook because the Facebook. It's not. If you have people in the Facebook, please have them go to Rumble or go to YouTube, and we'll try to fix that later. Well, anyways, this week, the Truth Avalanche is huge. It continues. This program might be a little long because there's a lot to cover, and there's a lot I still left out. I only picked the stuff which is most important for you and that I know that you came here to listen to. But prior to that, I wanted to show you this because I thought it was hilarious. And it is like, not only did they start a war to prevent the disclosure of the Epstein files, but they also sent people to the moon. And so I thought this was hilarious because this is what the government wants, for people to forget the Epstein files. And us as victims of government weaponization, this is the one thing that we cannot let happen, because I am absolutely certain. Remember what I told you a few weeks ago. All the records that were bait stamped from 1991 to 2001 were not released to the public. They are in violation of the law that says that they had to release it. And why is that? Because that was prior to 9/11, and 9/11 was an inside job to create, among other things, the surveillance state, the Patriot Act, the FISA Accord, and this program. So do not forget, hi Judy, do not forget about the Epstein files. Don't think it only has to do with little girls trafficked and raped, which is horrific. Every time I see the face of that disgusting Epstein, I'm just, I think that the face of the Joker in the Batman, if you look at him closely, was modeled after him because he has that smile of the disgusting Joker. But anyways, that's not what we're here for. Just don't let them go away and surreptitiously and not talk about Epstein files. Please help me defeat censorship. Like, subscribe, and share. It doesn't cost you anything. Helps me a lot. Before I go into everything that I brought for you this week, I want to start with a very short verse from Psalm 143, because as you know, this little place has to be covered with the grace of God, just like our lives have been covered, because the government criminals try everything they can to infect my computer, to shut this down. But it doesn't matter because I'm like the Energizer Bunny. I'm not going to stop. They can try to stop me, and maybe they can do a little obstacle, but I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop denouncing their criminality. They targeted the wrong person. And that's what I'm here for. I'm never, ever going to stop denouncing them until we are all free, including the last TI in Malaysia. Anyway, so and so it says like this. In the morning, let me hear your gracious love. For in you I trust. Cause me to know the way I should take, because I have set my hope on you. And that's exactly how I start every morning. I give thanks to God for giving me another day and the opportunity to change the course of history. And I also ask for the guidance and the strength and the courage to encounter all the horrible things that on everyday basis we have to encounter because of these criminals. So I just thought that was a good way to start today. Anyways, for you that did not get to read this week's newsletter, I'm going to share with you what our dear volunteer Sean has prepared for us all.
Many targeted law-abiding citizens are complaining about their cell phone signals being hijacked, cloned, and their calls being blocked. The use of a stingray may be responsible. The stingray is about the size of a briefcase and makes your cell phone think it is a cell tower to intercept your signal. Police departments and federal officials are known to use stingrays. The Ray Hunter device detects when someone is using a stingray to intercept your calls. The Ray Hunter works by intercepting, storing, and analyzing the control traffic between the mobile hotspot and the cell tower to which the Ray Hunter is connected to. The Ray Hunter analyzes the traffic in real time and looks for suspicious events, which could include unusual requests, like the cell tower trying to downgrade your cellular connection to 2G. This downgrade can make your phone more vulnerable to further attacks, or the cell tower retrieving your phone's IMSI. For more information on how to use this device and other devices that can help TIs, go to targetsourcellc.com.
I went from at the peak physical and mental performance, excellent officer, I was in great physical shape, and then all of a sudden I can't drive, I lost cognitive abilities, I lost long distance vision, I could only go to work for maybe 2 or 3 hours a day, and in the meantime I'm begging the agency to take care of me, get me to a doctor.
Here's the alarming full interview with CIA whistleblower Mark Polymeropoulos. Mark tells the host Andy Stumpf that the Havana Syndrome weapons are real, they can invisibly target victims' brains, and how the CIA tried to cover it up. You don't want to miss this breathtaking interview.
We have several links which will allow you to view the Epstein files. For the massive recent DOJ releases, the files are often in large paginated batches. Third-party tools or indexes, like searchable databases mentioned in some reports, can be helpful when navigating to them. But stick to official sources for authenticity. These materials are public records, but many contain graphic or disturbing content. Always cross-reference with primary sources, as secondary summaries can vary in accuracy. Releases continue to evolve, so check the DOJ Epstein page for the latest updates.
Heads up, we have 2 new podcast episodes that you do not want to miss. First, on the podcast Man in America, join MK Ultra survivor and CIA sleeper assassin, J.R. Sweet, as he reveals accounts of programming embedded inside everyday institutions, and what he believes is a vast network of mind-controlled individuals living among us. Next, on Alex Jones, check out this MI6 whistleblower, as he exposes the secret government programs and mass mind control, which Targeted Justice has been stating since 2018.
Many targeted law-abiding citizens have reported experiencing remote neural monitoring. This is old technology that has been available for decades. Some people refer to it as synthetic telepathy, but this is a misnomer. V2K and remote neural monitoring are not the same thing. Targeted Justice has provided a few strategies to help you defeat remote neural monitoring. If you believe that the perps are spying on you and overhearing your traveling plans, repeat it with disinformation. For example, if you're planning on going to Walmart, say that you're going to Walgreens. We also recommend on not bringing your cell phone everywhere because it can easily be tracked. The local perps do not have access to most of the information at Schriever Base because they do not have a top secret clearance. However, your phone location can be easily found and exploited using a local stingray.
Calling all digital warriors. Repost, like, and share this video on all social media. We're on the lookout for volunteers. You can let us know what your skills are by emailing us at tjustice2@proton.me. Put volunteer in the subject line. If you're looking for more targeted justice content, then go to the following link, which will take you to our channel on Rumble. We have our own branded shirts, cups, and other merchandise at our online store. Buy something for yourself or get a gift. We're always accepting donations. You can do so by going to the following link or sending us a check. The donations are tax deductible, and we're a non-profit organization. Thank you so much for watching this video. God bless. God bless. God bless.
Yeah, I want to echo one of our dear TIs that said, "Hello, government criminals. Hello, government criminals. Stay tuned because your day of judgment, your judgment day is coming soon, and I am going to work every day. I work every day to do just that." They think they're so funny. They're making my nose itch here. So excuse me, because they put implants all over my face to make it itch. But that's how stupid they are. They think that that's gonna, destroy me. Anyways, the news are really, really good. Let's start with the fact that the government criminals continue to get exposed. There is evidence that January 6th, just the news published just today, that January 6th was planned. I have been saying this for a long time, was planned by the FBI criminals and the CIA criminals too, since as back as August of 2020, right? Evidence that J6 was a setup. I have been saying that the people that went there on January 6th had already been targeted. They had already been investigated. They had already had FISA warrants against them. They were already, information was being called about them. Kash Patel turned over to Congress last week a memo, some documents from the FBI proving that they conducted a tabletop exercise in the summer of 2020 that imagine what sort of violence might ensue in a contested presidential election that year, devising strategies like undercover informants that we already know that there were hundreds of them, and mass prosecutions. They were already planning the prosecutions for minor crimes that it would later use with the January 6th Capitol riot. So the memos show the Boston office, the Boston criminals of the FBI led the tabletop exercise and called open source intelligence on the potential for violence from both left-leaning anarchists to right-leaning extremists. They planned how they would entrap them. Listen to John Solomon, that he just puts it beautifully. The two main things.
And they even devised very specific strategies. And one of them is to embed informants inside the groups where the most likely political violence or political agitation might occur. That is something that the FBI did. We had 24 informants on the ground on the morning of January 6th. The second thing they recommended was mass prosecutions, even for the most minor of crimes. Exactly what the FBI did after January 6th. Now,
so the FBI memo stated the following. This is so huge. This is so huge. And many of you say, well, I'm a TI. What do I have to do with the January 6th? First of all, I'm going to read you the memo right now, but let me explain something to you. That January 6th entrapment is the culmination of this experiment that they have been doing for decades on us. They did the intelligence prior to them getting there. They entrapped them, then they arrested them and massively prosecuted them. This was like their culmination of this unacknowledged special access program. The thing is, most J6ers don't even realize it. Even those that get the voices, they don't get it. They think that they're in a special class. And I understand it because they were used as an example just to dissuade anybody from being a patriot. So the FBI August 2020 memo stated, the FBI assesses domestic violent extremists, DVE, that's what they consider us to be, threats related to the 2020 elections likely will increase as the election approaches, despite the current focus of many DVEs on the COVID-19 pandemic and civil unrest. As you know, anybody that opposed COVID mandates and that was opposed to the jabs and all of that, they were also classified as domestic violent extremists pursuant to a Biden memorandum that Tulsi declassified. So they're also on the list. The thing is, they don't know it. So election-related threats include but are not limited to those against candidates, campaign events, presidential conventions, party offices, elected officials, voter registration events, and threats or plots related to electoral outcomes. Notice how they talk about threats and plots, and in a little while, I'm going to talk about the pipe bomber. But now, it's important that you look at this, which is the following. Today, Miss Jerry Perna, who is the aunt of a J6er that took his life, and she has been relentlessly demanding for justice, she posted his suicide note that read, I sacrificed my freedom when I entered the Capitol building on January 6th, and in despair took my own life the night that I wrote this. And the way I see it is that we have to think of the J6s as the Three Musketeers used to say, all for one and one for all. These people don't know that they are the victims of subliminal messaging, of remote neural monitoring. They probably, most of them don't know that FISA 702 is being used on them. They have no clue because they have not been identified with what we already know, back and forth. So there's also 4 other people that took their lives. As you know, that is one of the goals of this program, to do a psychological operation on you that is so horrible that you want to take your life. And in this case, out of the probably more than 1,300 people that they targeted, they succeeded with 4, and it's just, it's just horrible. It's horrific that they are getting away with it. I have been saying it all along. These were Mark Ongst, Chris Stanton, George Meacham, and Matthew Perna. Let us not forget their names, as well as the names of the fallen ones in our community that have been driven to suicide because of the government criminals running this illegal program. I also learned that 2 parents that protested at school boards, as you know, they were also, they didn't want their children to be taught pornography, so they went and protested in school boards, right? Well, what happened is they also considered them domestic violent extremists, DVE. And many of them, again, have not connected the dots that they were entrapped under this unacknowledged special access program with a security clearance level of 35. Even Patel doesn't have the security clearance. Only 5 people, it seems, at the FBI that are the ones with the access to the prohibited access files have this access. Okay, so when Todd Blanche found out about this abuse, he secretly shut down the weaponization working group established by Executive Order 14147, designed to investigate and address the misuse of federal agencies against American citizens by reviewing the past actions of the DOJ, FBI, and other agencies for political bias or improper targeting. They sidelined Todd Blanche, crooked Todd Blanche. He sidelined Ed Martin, who was doing a good job. Remember, I told you last week how Ed Martin had sent a letter regarding the CIA entrapment of Alex Jones. Well, he retracted that letter, Todd Blanche. And his advisor refers to school parents that protested at school boards as terrorists. He did that back in January, a few months ago. Okay. So he also sent out operatives to pressure journalists to kill reporting on his behavior. Todd Blanche, in my personal opinion, is rotten to the core and has to be removed. Fortunately, a lot of people have been saying he's not a Republican. He was a Democrat up till 2024, and he's only there because he defended Trump in a case. He shouldn't be there. He doesn't care about victims of government weaponization. In fact, he has weaponized the DOJ more against them. Anyways, so this is really good news because the J6ers, they are regrouping and they are not going to stop until they get justice. And in these cases, judicial cases that they have been filing, they are going to get their day in court and discovery, hopefully. Okay, so now everything happens for a reason. Last week, this is something different but related. Last week, I told you how Steve Baker has had been fired from the Blaze. This week, we got information that the FBI criminals pressured the Blaze. That's what was published, to fire him. And again, this is like Wile E. Coyote, because they thought that by sabotaging him financially, they were going to shut him up. And what they did was empower him even more. He now set up a journalistic enterprise with a friend, and they are now going to publish what the Blaze was not letting him publish. Many of you must know that on December 23rd, he had a heart attack that almost took his life. Fortunately, and also I think because he's a target, he survived it, but he still has some heart ailments. He is a warrior. Steve Baker is a warrior of truth. Remember, when this man was about to publish his article on the gate analysis of the pipe bomber, he was arrested and he was put in jail. And yeah, he was granted bail on his own recognizance. And then thanks to the pardons by President Trump, he was pardoned. But he was arrested even though he was a journalist covering January 6th. So he hired, I've been listening to his interviews and I urge you to do so because they're very interesting. He's very thorough. Why is this important? Because January 6th, even though, like just the news published, was planned by FBI and DOJ, the entrapment plus the prosecution, it comes from something even more sinister, which is the CIA. And this is important because the person that he identifies as the Capitol Police official that matches something like 98% or 96% the gate analysis, that he maintains anonymous the person because he wants to protect that person, which is very honorable of him. Well, she now works for the CIA, as many of you know. So Brian Cole, the autistic man that likes My Little Pony and has the maturity of a 16-year-old, well, he's trying to have the presidential pardon that was granted to J6ers applied to him. The thing is that both DOJ and Mr. Baker don't agree with it because, and I'm going to read you his analysis, which I think is so spot on. The pardon order clearly covers only behaviors on January 6th and not January 5th, which is when the alleged bomb that, another analysis by another expert said that it wasn't really a bomb, but that's another topic. Well, it happened on January 5th, not January 6th. It was on the night before. Brian Cole Jr. was not the person who laid those devices, so he shouldn't be asking for a pardon. There was no crime by him. And he says he really thinks there wasn't any crime, and this is why. When you are committing a crime in the legal world, there is something called mens rea, which is the intent to commit a crime. Mens rea is a Latin term. So Mr. Baker says that Shawnee Kirkhoff believes she was participating in a training exercise. And that has been his longtime theory. He doesn't think she was trying to frame anybody or do anything bad against anybody. She was told, just like I told you about the Masons last week, that there was a guy that thought, he was obsessed with the Matrix and obsessed with being a spy and a police. Well, the same with her. He insists that she was told she was participating in a training exercise. The thing is that the finding of this explosive device was used as a terrorist, like as an additional aggravating circumstances for the people that were accused in January 6th, which ended in, the suicide of some of them because they thought they were going to be jailed. And we have Enrique Tarrio, who was for 3 years in solitary confinement. I mean, the abuses that these prosecutors at DOJ perpetrated against these people were so horrific that they do not only should they be investigated, evaluated, whether or not they should be disbarred, but also I think that qualified immunity doesn't apply. That's my opinion, because it's just that it is so egregious now that this information of the FBI criminality planning this in Boston, there had to be, and maybe that's what's in the burn bags over there at the FBI, there had to be collusion between the DOJ prosecutors and the FBI agents that planned the whole ruse. Anyways, so this is, I commend Mr. Baker. I hope that God covers him with his divine protection and that he continues to put water bags in front of his heart to protect it at sleeping at night. He's not going to stop investigating. He's going to expose the CIA role in January 6th. And for this, he is our hero. Because once it is exposed that the CIA is the real monster behind government weaponization, it's downhill from there for them. Okay? Anyways, more exposure of the FBI criminals is coming. This one is really good too. I'm telling you, this week there was so much to talk to you about that I had to make up my mind. I had talked to you last week about the Seth Rich case, FOIA case going on in the Northern District of Texas. Well, this week, Mr. Ty Clevenger, he put a post today, which was, I had a lot of work today because it was like most of the really good things happened today. So he's a masterful Dallas attorney, Ty Clevenger. He's like a pit bull that will not let go of a bone. He has been working on this Seth Rich case for a decade. The deep state actors running the government continue to stall and defy court orders, and Clevenger continues to demand justice. He asked for the image of the Seth Rich laptop. As many of you know, Seth Rich is the guy that was murdered, supposedly in a holdup, but he was being, how do you say it when somebody tries to steal from you? But he was the one that gave supposedly WikiLeaks the emails from the DNC for the 2016 election, because he supported Bernie Sanders and he didn't like what they did to Bernie Sanders. Anyway, so he was reportedly upset that what the DNC did to Bernie, and on July 10th, 2016, he was found shot in the back due to what law enforcement labeled as a burglary. Yet his wallet, phone, and watch were left in his person. This is the time when WikiLeaks began dropping the information. Now, why is this important for us? as you know, we are engaging in the Privacy Act initiative, which, even though Privacy Act has more rights than the FOIA per se, because it's the information about us, here's the thing. The FBI denied his discovery request, and the way they did it wrong. Okay, remember that in this case, this is the case where he got a motion for contempt against Michael Seidel, who was the chief of the FBI FOIA office that denied many of us. You look check the signature. Our FOIA, our Privacy Act request. Well, he's out of the picture. God knows where he is, pushing papers. But he trained his minions because, as you know, they're all answering wrong. And we're going to talk about that later. They're answering wrong the Privacy Act request, limiting them to the central record system, which from the get-go, we tell them, don't bother just answering from the central record system because you are hiding information that is located in the prohibited access. Anyway, so he says the FBI may have a big problem on its hands right now because this is what Mr. Clevenger wrote on X, and I'm quoting. These are not my words. Our discovery requests are an exam for the FBI, demanding documents and answers about every dirty scheme the FBI has ever employed to hide information from the public and from Congress. This is stuff that senators have been trying to get their hands on for years, on how the FBI hides records they should produce under FOIA. It's painfully clear that cash is in over his head and he's not getting the job done. I've been fighting the FBI's dirty tricks for 9 years in multiple lawsuits. And you know what has changed since Cash took over? Not very much. The FBI is still playing dirty, and the deep state is just bidding its time until the Democrats regain power again. Cash had his chance, and now it's time for a change. The FBI's only argument for resisting discovery, is that discovery should be prohibited in all FOIA cases. Imagine that. Regardless of the circumstances. That's a weak argument, and the case law is against them. But there's much a bigger problem. A party resisting discovery must specifically object to each and every discovery request, giving specific reasons for each one. And in this case, the FBI did not do that, so they waived the right to do so. I'm going to be on the lookout for this case because, as you know, not only has he been fighting these criminals for 9 years, but I really hope that the judge is courageous and, as we say in Puerto Rico, puts the bell on the cat, which is like a hard feat to do. You know, try to put a little bell on a collar to a cat and they'll start fighting again against it. Well, that's what the judge needs to do here. And we're counting on Mr. Clevenger. He's another patriot that he's doing the heavy lifting for many of us. Now, from another place, there's another exposure of something that is completely illegal, and that once Mr. Rudy Giuliani succeeds in this, he will be opening floodgates for us. And it's that Mr. Giuliani, he had a search warrant done on him in 2021. However, to this day, they haven't given it to him, and no criminal charges were filed against him. So let me just play this for you, and then I'm going to comment about it. Because the thing is, it's to me, in my opinion, it's just so absolutely illegal. And he's a brilliant mind, and he has the resources. And listen to what he says.
What did they ever tell you what they were investigating?
And even now, and I have to say, this includes Bondi and the Attorney General, and they would all have the power to do this. And my good friend Cash, and I'm trying to get the affidavits. Christina Bobb represents me.
She's wonderful.
And I'm trying to get the affidavits for the simple reason that they had to have written an affidavit showing probable cause that I committed a crime in order to get into my house.
And spy
There you have it. So not even well-connected, powerful Rudy Giuliani, America's mayor, cannot get his warrant. And Rule 41 of criminal procedure governs the search and seizure warrants, and they should have given the warrants to him, particularly the probable cause affidavit. And the only way they don't do it is when they the judge seals it, right? But it's only sealed, I believe, in circumstances that warrant it. Like there's, there's one of the witnesses is in real danger if the person that was accused of a crime learns of who this person is, because like a mafia case or something could have him killed. But this is Rudy Giuliani. He's not gonna, he just wants to know what were the grounds to perform that search and seizure. And I really hope that his attorney succeeds, Ms. Bob succeeds in this, because he was never charged with any crime. And just like James O'Keefe redacted, his entire warrant was redacted. And I think the reason for that is because if they unredact it, they are going to realize that there was no probable cause for his warrant. And why is this important for us? Because when we do get access, because we're going to fight it tooth and nail, and we will go to court to fight for a Privacy Act request, I am absolutely certain that they're going to try to redact the information on the lies that the FBI criminals and the confidential human sources criminals lied about us. So these are cases that, even though they seem to be so far away from us, are going to set the precedents upon which we are going to be able to fight for the information in our cases. And that's why I bring it to you, because I think it's great that it's getting exposure. And notice how he says he's friends with Cash, and even Cash doesn't have the power to give him the warrants. What this means is that this deep state that is still very powerful within the DOJ, within which the FBI operates under the DOJ umbrella, well, the criminals are still very powerful there. And Donald J. Trump has failed to clean up, and Pam Bondi, obviously, and in Cash, they have failed to clean up the deep state operation in those agencies that are the ones that have primarily weaponized the government against you and against me and against the J6ers, the parents protesting at school boards, the people opposing the COVID mandates, and all of us victims of government weaponization. Now, next thing is the FISA. Again, this came in yesterday, so I was like rushing to bring you the information. As you know, the FISA expires on the 20th of April. Congress is soon going to vote on the reauthorization of the surveillance authority known as Section 702 of the FISA Act. As you know, they passed this law supposedly to combat terrorism of foreigners. But in my opinion, the real reason it was to spy on everyday Americans and provide the gang stalkers with the necessary information to obliterate our lives. No one has placed here the bell on the cat either, and explained to people in Congress what have they done with this information, because I'm absolutely certain that FISA 702 has not produced a single arrest since its enactment in 2008, because it has been used against people that are victims of government weaponization, and because it's an illegal mechanism to spy on people without probable cause. That's the only reason they created it, to destroy our lives. It was enacted under George Bush, that was also complicit in the false flag of 9/11, that, as you know, was created to not only enact a surveillance state, to create a surveillance state, enact the Patriot Act, enact this FISA 702, and create what we have been living through, the hell we have been living, many of us have been living through for so many years. Once the government collects the data under Section 702, foregoing a warrant on the ground that it is targeting only foreigners overseas, it routinely searches through the data to find Americans' phone calls, text messages, and emails. FBI, CIA, and NSA and National Counterterrorism conduct literally thousands of these warrantless backdoor searches, which the government calls U.S. person queries each year. The FBI and NSA criminals have used Section 702 to search for the communications of protesters across the political spectrum. Now, yesterday, the New York Times published something really troublesome. Please remember that in January of 2025, the United States District Court for the Eastern District of New York issued a judgment declaring the FISA 702 backdoor illegal, unconstitutional in that case, in that criminal case. However, it allowed the evidence because they said that they didn't do it with malice. Right? That's like a bad excuse. But anyways, the article that was published yesterday in the New York Times stated that the FISA court had done its shenanigan, its maneuvering to continue using FISA 702, even if Congress does not reauthorize it next week. At first, I became very upset because, first of all, the opinion of the court that is supposed to be dated March 26, it has not been made public. It has not been declassified. But as you know, the Brennan Center for Justice, that they have been fighting the abuses by the fusion centers. They are also very concerned with the FISA, the abuses of 702. And Ms. Elizabeth Goiting from the Brennan Center, who is an expert on this matter, who testified before Congress, wrote the following, and I'm just transmitting it to you. The New York Times published a story that should put a nail in the coffin of the administration's plans to push a straight reauthorization of FISA 702. The article reports that the FISA court issued certifications authorizing Section 702 surveillance through March of 2027 under a grandfather provision. These certifications will remain in force even if Section 702 itself expires. However, if Congress, and this is where you come in, if Congress imposes the warrant requirement for U.S. persons, it falls apart. So this is why this is not a moment to stop. And I'm gonna put here for those of you targeted one. I'm gonna comment on the dying thing in a little while because we got a lot of people saying the same thing. So for those of you that have not sent your letter yet, this is a link that we have placed everywhere, and I really invite you to add in there to the template they have. These people illegally use the surveillance to destroy other people's lives, and just add a little blurb on how they're spying on you, which feeds the gang stalkers information, how that has affected you so much. Okay, I just put you there the link, and so please, if you have not written yet, put everybody, your mother, your father, your sister, your cousin, everybody to write. Okay, anyways. So back to Ms. Goiting. She said that the bottom line, according to her, is that the FBI is still engaged in systemic violations of the law. That the March 26th opinion of the FISA court proves that they are still doing that. In the meantime, members of Congress are entitled to read that classified opinion, and they should insist on doing so. The FISA court opinions are perhaps the most valuable source of information Congress has about how Section 702 is operating in practice. And this is where you come in. Ms. Goiting doesn't know I don't think she knows about the gang stalking program. I don't think she knows like how this affects us. This is, you can put Congress in a position to know how they use this information illegally obtained without a Fourth Amendment guarantee against you. Okay, let me read that again. What she says, perhaps the opinion is the most valuable source of information Congress has about how Section 702 is operating. No, the most valuable source of information you can provide by writing in this link I sent you and putting in there how they obstructed your job hunting, how they follow you everywhere you go because they read your text messages. Don't make it like, that it doesn't sound coherent. Make it, you just think about it and add it to the letter and say, I am willing to testify before Congress and demonstrate how the illegal collection of information about my life has affected me, my privacy rights, my Fifth Amendment, my Fourth Amendment rights. Anyways, so hi, dear Craig. I'm going to come back to you in a little while. So please, if you have not done so, you need to do so. There is broad bipartisan support to reform Section 702. It's on both sides of the aisle. You just have to write your letter to your congressperson and tell him, I'm going to make sure that if you vote for 702, I am going to go on election day exclusively to vote against you. I don't even care if it's, Woody Woodpecker running against you. I am going to go and vote against you. You have to write it like that because our lives depend on this. Okay? Anyways, so this is no time to stop. I do want to bring you a little information about the mind control going on here. Last week, I talked to you about this. Let me give you the link again here. About President Trump's mind control, right? Well, that is getting even worse. But I'm going to talk to you about the mind control involved in this little FISA situation. And it is that the presiding judge in this FISA court his name is Anthony Trenga. And this man is the judge, the courageous judge back then in 2019 that declared the TSDB unconstitutional as a violation of due process because it didn't give notice or an opportunity to rebut the nomination to the list. The case was appealed, and look at the dates. In 2019, he did the judgment. In 2020, he was nominated to the FISA court. What a coincidence. By Judge Roberts from the Supreme Court. They needed to convince him not to be on the side of the Constitution. So then in 2021, the Court of Appeals reversed his decision. But he was already in the FISA court. And he is the same man that signs opinions saying, I'm going to continue issuing warrants under 702, even if Congress hasn't authorized it under a Gavel clause. So I'm not going to say much more about that, but I'm just telling you that these technologies that these CIA criminals use, we know that are very powerful and even can affect even the most courageous and brilliant judicial brains. Anyways, it is important for you to note that Rand Paul has a statute that he vows. It's called the Fourth Amendment Restoration and Protection Act. So it's no secret. He says no secret. Unaccountable courts should be allowed to authorize. No secret. Unaccountable court should be allowed to authorize spying on American citizens, said Dr. Paul. My Fourth Amendment Restoration and Protection Act would exempt Americans from the FISA process and ensure both constitutional rights and national security are protected. He specifically said that his act would preserve the ability of the FISA court to order the surveillance of foreigners and terrorists, require the government to obtain an order for a traditional Article 3 federal court to surveil U.S. persons, which is what we're asking for, because that requires probable cause. That cannot be just like the assessments that Steve Friend, the whistleblower from the FBI, talks about, how they start concocting an assessment and from there it just blows up to, they put in their fake stuff and blows up to no reasonable suspicion, and that's how they continue. So he would prohibit the government from conducting information queries of a U.S. person pursuant to Section of 702, which they abuse it, and prohibit the government from introducing into evidence any information concerning a United States person acquired or derived from an acquisition under FISA or Executive Order 12333. But preserve the right of the defense to introduce such information as exculpatory evidence. That is so important, especially to this community, because that is evidence of the entrapment, which has not been revealed to many people that have gone to jail or have been in any way convicted of any crime, and they have been entrapped by these criminals. So my position is that the problem with these senators and representatives, many of them, they just don't know the real impact of FISA 702. This is no time to stop. Please send your request. And I learned through social media that a group of people have planned to come on Monday and Tuesday to the Hill to argue against FISA 702. I haven't been invited. It's okay for whatever reason. And even though I have been relentlessly working and fighting for everybody, no matter what, I commend these efforts and I wish them the best. And, it's all part of the tactic of divide and conquer. We should not fall prey for it. We should do positive affirmations and not let them rule over our conduct. Now, we have been, and here's what I'm going to address, the people that have been saying they're killing me. I know for a fact that the torture has increased. It's increased for me too, okay? In more ways that I can say. You have no idea the sense of impotence it gives me when I read the emails and I cannot come to the rescue. Targeted justice doesn't have the resources. And even if we came to the rescue, what are we going to do? We cannot shield, the dues. We can, I do wear headgear for sleeping, but it is up to each and every one of you to take the measures necessary to protect yourself as much as possible, because we don't have the resources anytime. We have very few little volunteers, because many of them, as soon as they start working for us, they just, they just walk away because my targeting goes up. No, if you don't fight back, it's never going to end. If we didn't have these courageous volunteers that continue to fight back despite the horrific things that the criminals do to them, we would not be able to do what we do for you. So I just, as many times as I have said it, you cannot listen to your V2K. I wish you would learn from my dear friend Craig, who is so good at it and who stands tall and who continues to fight back. You cannot listen to the devil. You cannot listen to these criminals, because they will only convince you of anything that is not the reality, and it's only to prejudice, to cause you harm. Okay, and they are not going to murder you. Their goal is to make you take your life. That's one of the reasons you cannot listen to them. That is one of the reasons you need to do subliminal. Positive affirmations to fight against the subliminal message. I will only react to constructive suggestions forever. You need to do this because these people are relentless 24/7, and you need to protect yourself. So I just wanted to bring you the example of Mr. Baker. If they wanted to kill him, they have the weapons to do so. I mean, don't doubt that. Their military-grade weaponry could have already killed all of us. That's not their goal. Their goal is to torture you, to profit from trafficking you, to profit from your pain, and to make you kill yourself, which you're not going to do, because you are going to live to see freedom. all of us, we're gonna walk together towards freedom, and I'm counting on you for that. Anyways, in that context, I wanted to share with you this rock bottom became the solid foundation on which I rebuilt my life. This is a quote from J.K. Rowling, the author of Harry Potter. And I invoke it a lot because that is exactly how we have to see things, you know? Yes, they have taken so much from us, but we have become stronger. We have become a more wiser. We have become more courageous, many of us. I know I have. And for that, I am grateful. And for the protection, for the divine protection that has allowed me to be here fighting for you all. Now, tomorrow is the monthly meeting that, as you know, happens. It's going to be in the Palisades Library in the conference room at 2 p.m. Everybody around in this area, in the DMV area, I hope that you can make it. I am going to be answering questions about the Privacy Act request. As I told you, this is a really important mechanism that I want to carry out because it's going to expose these criminals. They don't get to choose where they look for your records. They have to look in the prohibited access files because your name was never supposed to be there. And just like they gave them to Christine Crowder, they have to give them to you. It's a matter of equal protection under the law. So please join me tomorrow at 2. I'm going to be live streaming. And then, as you know, I had originally planned to stay only until April, but I'm staying indefinitely because I'm fighting for everybody's freedom. And it seems that the 180-degree turn that President Trump has done is going to make it a little harder for us to get the freedom we thought we'd have by now. It doesn't matter. I'm not stopping, and they should know it, criminals. I am going, it's not just about freedom, because once we become free, that's when the real work starts, because we need compensation, we need medical care, we need all sorts of structures to be set up to try to make whole this community that has been abused for so long. So for those of you that have supported me, I thank you immensely, and I welcome your support because I'm not leaving here. I work every day to shut down these criminals. And please remember the meditation at noon and on 12 p.m. Eastern time. I'm going to have to be this week. I've been so busy writing and doing things that I have been bad in reminding you, but I'm going to take it up this next week. Anyways, thank you for your support. Let me just check here. Okay, I had to, here's what's happening, and I want you to realize this. The FBI is purchasing information from social media companies. So if you have the apps on your phone, the FBI is buying from them everything about your location, and I'm sure they're doing it in real time. About your location, about your text messages, they're literally selling them to the FBI. So I recommend you abstain from using those apps in your phone. Use them in your computer if you want to, but not in the phone, because it's free spying you're giving to the criminals at the FBI. Okay? Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Raquel. Prayers are so welcome and so appreciated and so needed because, devil is really, really upset and angry. Let me see if there is anything. I don't think there's any questions here, so I just wanted to check Craig because I saw his long comment. My precious friend. Well, I can't see it here. Anyways, please, if you haven't sent your hi, Shonda. If you have no, Craig, dearest Ana. Yes, we're gonna get these criminals. I'm staying strong, Craig. We're gonna get them. We're gonna and this is why all the news I covered today, it's not just us. There are different ways, like the lighthouse says, there are different ways that this program is gonna get exposed. And all of these people I talked about today, without knowing it, they're all working towards that goal. So it's gonna happen anytime now. Just one little thing I wanted to say before we leave, and it's the following: when we talk about the directed energy weapons, let's read the Targeted Justice newsletter so you know about it. The reason why when you're burned, it's not lasers doing it is because if it was, and this the lighthouse explained to me, if it was a laser, it would do a hole in the ceiling of your house, in the roof of your house. Lasers don't go through cement like microwaves do. So maybe if you're outside, well, they could use that. But if you're inside your home, it can't be a laser, or else they would make a hole in the roof. So that's just a tidbit of information. Anyway, thank you everybody for being here. I really appreciate it. I hope you can join me next week, because this is a truth avalanche and an exposure avalanche that there's no. Have you ever seen anybody being able to stop an avalanche? No. Well, the same with this. It's not going to stop, and we're going to be free. Have a good night.